All right, we're going to try to finish up these last questions, starting here with percent change. Percent change is always about how much something's changing, so it's really based off where it's starting. It makes a difference that you're starting from 70 and going to 15. It would be different if you were starting at 15 and going to 70. That starting point is going to make a big difference. The way that you do the percent change is it's how much did it change, and you divide by where did you begin, where did you start, what was your original amount. So the change divided by the starting amount. So it's either going to increase or it's going to decrease. So in number 5, if you're going from 70 to 15, that's a decrease, so I can automatically take this one out. It went from 70 to 15, so that's a change of 55. If you don't know, do 70 minus 15, see how much it changed. It started at 70, so 55 divided by 70 tells me that if you do that, you get 0.785 something, 7, and you round it, it'd be 78.6% decrease. Number 6 is going from 28 to 46, so that's an increase, so this is definitely out. That's an increase of 18. It started at 28. 18 divided by 28 gives me a 64.3% increase. From 37 to 71 is a change of 34. It started at 37, so 34 over 37 is a 91.9% increase. Again, I can cross off decrease in that one. Then from 35 to 29 is a decrease, so I can take that off. It went down 6. It started at 35. 6 divided by 35 is a 17.1% decrease. Keep in mind it's the change divided by your starting or your original amount. Alright, and then we went to percent problems. Now some of you can do this and just think about what is 85% of 138. Well, I know that 85% is less than 138, so that would take this out, and this out, and this out. So this one has to be 117.3. But if I want to actually do the problem, the easiest way to do it is to translate it word for word. What would be an x, is would be an equals, 85% would be 0.85, of is times 138. And if you do 0.85 times 138, you get 117.3. Number 10, 160% of 72 is what? Well, again, if it's 160% of something, it's going to have to be larger than that something you're starting with. So this is out. This is out. 11,000 wouldn't be 160% because that's just kind of almost doubling it, but not quite. So that's way too big. This has to be the answer, but let's do it mathematically. 160% would be 1.60 of 72 is times 72 is what? Equals what? And if you do 1.60 times 72, you'll get 115.2. All right, number 11, again, 8 is what percent of 104? Well, I know it's probably going to have to, if I was talking about what percent, let's see, 10% of 104 would be 10.4. So 8 would be a little smaller than 10%, so I would probably guess B. But let's do that mathematically. 8 means equals what percent of 104. So I'm going to solve this by dividing by 104, and I get x is 0.077, which is 7.7%. Notice they gave you the choice of 0.08%. It's 0.077 as a decimal. It's 7.7% to change from decimal to percent. Number 12, what percent of 69 is 33? It's a little less than half, so I'd probably guess A, but let me do that mathematically. What percent of means times, 69 is means equals, 33, divide, and again you're going to get 0.478, which is 47.8%. Be careful to know that this is not 0.478%. You have to switch it, move it over to do that. All right, let's do a couple of word problems and then we'll knock this out. Willie drove to the ferry office and back. So Willie's here, ferry office is here. He's going to drive there and he's going to drive back, same trip. Took 3 hours less time to get there than it did to get back. So I'm going to make this one x minus 3 and this one x. The average speed on the trip there was 60. So this is rate times time. And on the way back it was 24. rate times time. Distances should be the same. So this rate times time should equal this rate times time. So 60 times x minus 3 should equal to 24 times x. And then you just solve it. 60x minus 180 equals 24x. I'm going to subtract 60x and get negative 180 equals negative 36x. Divide by negative 36. I get x is 5. So that means the time it took on the way back was 5 hours. And on the way there, since it's x minus 3 and x is 5, it would have taken 2 hours. 2 hours on the way there, averaging 60 miles an hour. 5 hours on the way back, averaging 24 miles per hour. Both would be a 120-mile trip. All right, cattle train traveled to the fueling station and back. To and back, same distance. Trip there, it traveled 55 kilometers per hour for so long. On the trip back, it went 30 kilometers per hour. That's your rate. Why is that way down there? 30 kilometers per hour. Rate times time. How long did the trip there take? I don't know that. If the return trip took 11 hours. If it took 11 hours, if you were driving 30 kilometers per hour for 11 hours, 30 times 11 is 330. So if this trip was 330 kilometers and you were going 55 kilometers per hour, divide and you get 330 divided by 55 gives you 6. It would take 6 hours for that trip if you're going 55, but 11 hours if you're going 30. That's the last of your questions. Make sure you're studying for Friday's retest, and please come in tomorrow with any questions you may have.